I warn you guys. Now you've awakened the beast.
Hi everyone, my name's King Noosme. So I decided to start doing somewhat of a new series on my channel. There are so many Goosebumps episodes that are so much alike that you can kind of categorize them. I mean, there's ghosts, haunted houses, creepy crawlies, and like today's video, werewolves. Werewolves show up pretty often in the Goosebumps books, but what do I look like, a nerd? Don't answer that. Sadly, I'm not going to be looking into the books today. I'm only going to be looking into the episodes of Goosebumps. And there are technically only 2 episodes of Goosebumps that involve werewolves, but each of those episodes are 2-parters, so technically there's 4 episodes. And those episodes of course, Werewolf of Fever Swamp and Werewolf Skin. Both episodes are loved by fans, one a little bit more than the other, and both are pretty scary in their own ways. And I want to start with the famous Werewolf of Fever Swamp. Werewolf of Fever Swamp is the 2-part finale for season 1 and known as one of the Goosebumps classics. Like, it's up there with The Haunted Mask and Night of the Living Dummy in terms of popularity. People love this episode. It's also got one of the coolest covers of any Goosebumps book. It's like so freaking cool. No wonder it sold 1.5 million copies. And it had a comic book as well. It was combined with The Abominable Snowman of Pasadena and Scarecrow Walks at Midnight. And I actually used to own this comic book, but that was like a long time ago when I was like 6 years old. So Lord knows where it is now. And it was pretty terrifying as a kid. They really made the wolf look horrifying. Just look at this. And since it's so popular, it's actually showed up in a couple of other episodes of Goosebumps. You can see a few props laying here in the episode The Shocker on Shock Street. Like, the whole werewolf costume is used right here in the beginning. And in the episode Bride of the Living Dummy, it's actually on the TV in one of the scenes. I actually pointed this out with a bunch of other Easter eggs in my video about the whole Slappy trilogy, so go check that out if you haven't seen that. It also shows up in a completely different series, a series that I kind of want to talk about one day, called Animorphs. In the 3rd episode, Underground, one of the characters' dads is watching it on the TV. But that's enough yapping about the episode, let's get into it. After our sponsor. Listen, we all get spam calls and emails all the time, and it can be super annoying sifting through it, blocking the numbers, deleting all the emails. It gets pretty annoying, and they're getting pretty smart. I recently had one that was faking being Amazon, and they said that I had a package delivered at the door when I hadn't ordered anything. I know one of the reasons I get spam texts and calls is because big companies can't keep our data safe. Recently, Ticketmaster was hacked and the data of 560 million people was put up for sale on the dark web. The data stolen includes full names, addresses, email addresses, phone numbers, and credit card data. At best, this is going to lead to so much more spam, and at worst, fraud. So what is Ticketmaster doing about it? Nothing. They said that they didn't think the hack would have material impact on overall business. All these businesses happily take our data but do nothing to protect it. That's why I use Aura, the sponsor of today's video. Aura alerts me when my data has been part of a data breach or leaked on the dark web. It gives me fast fraud alerts if anyone tries to use the data to access my credit card or bank account. And it removes my information from data broker websites, so I get less spam. I also get things like transaction monitoring, VPN, antivirus, a password manager, parental controls, and identity theft insurance. I get this all in one app at one affordable price. If my info is compromised in the Ticketmaster data breach, I wouldn't worry, because Aura is always on, always doing the hard work of keeping me safe. I'm not leaving myself and my family vulnerable to data breaches. And if you don't want to either, you can go to aura.com/King Noosme and try your first 2 weeks for free. It's also linked in the description below. And thank you, Aura, for sponsoring this video. Now let's get into it. We start this episode with our man R.L. Stine introducing the episode in one of the most awkward intros I've ever seen.
I'll see you after the show. Right now I'm going for a quick bite.
Yeah, okay, buddy. We cut to a very foggy and creepy looking swamp. Then we get to see the new house the family's moving into. Oh, that's the new house? And it's even worse on the inside. Who thought it was a good idea to move in here? The mom tries her best to make things better by saying,
well, it's rustic. Rustic's in these days.
No, ma'am. That's not rustic. That's crusty.
Is this a bloodstain?
Well, if she likes it, I guess. This is Grady, our main character of the episode. He's played by Brendan Fletcher, who was also in an episode of The Haunting Hour. The episode's called Lots of Luck, and I actually made a video on it. Go check it out if you haven't seen it. Grady isn't exactly loving the new place, but neither is his sister, who just found a corn snake in the medicine cabinet. Her name is Emily, and she really hates that she had to move away from her friends and boyfriend.
Hey, give the snake an ear and it'll look like your old boyfriend.
Grady.
Damn, that's actually kind of funny. Luckily for Grady, he gets to set the little snake free in the swamp. He doesn't go far into the woods, but when he turns around, he doesn't know where he is. He doesn't remember walking this deep into the swamp. As he explores deeper, the animal noises get louder and closer. Grady tries to keep himself calm by telling himself,
I am not lost.
the more you say it, doesn't make it any truer, kid. The only thing that makes things worse right now is that Grady's not alone. Someone is following him through the swamp, and Grady can hear this, so he starts to panic and tries to run away, but it's no use. And I wish I knew exactly what happened next, but we just cut to darkness, and then Grady's back home. So I guess using context clues, the swamp hermit helped him get home? Maybe? But he's still a very weird guy. Grady and Emily talk about why they moved to Fever Swamp and how much they hate it here. Emily even says that she'd rather go to boarding school than live in the middle of nowhere. But Grady's a good kid and tries to see the bright side of things. Their parents are scientists and they're finally getting the chance to do an experiment that they've been wanting to do for years.
And I'm not gonna be the one to ruin it.
Dang, he spoke pretty well to have his mouth full of toothpaste whenever I do it. I sound like...
Her sister came down in a bubble, dog.
Uh-huh.
Her sister was a witch.
Yeah, right, yeah.
The Wicked Witch of the East, dog.
The Wicked Witch of the East, yeah. I have no clue what you just said.
But sadly for Emily, things are only gonna get worse.
Oh!
Well, worse than that. The next day, we learn about the experiment that their parents are conducting. They brought some deer here, and they're going to tag them and release them to the swamp to see how quickly they adapt to the new environment. And in the episode, they don't say what deer they are, but in the book, they are swamp deer from South America. And they just wanted to see how they would act in Florida swamps. This is when Grady and his dad talk about their new home.
Did you ever think that you would be spending your teenage years in a place like Fever Swamp?
Not my wildest dreams.
I don't think any kid wants to move from a bigger city to the middle of nowhere, so I don't think he's too happy about it. But his dad promises him that he will make a lot of new friends and go on a lot of really cool adventures. But so far, all he's done is get lost in the swamp, and as for friends, it's not looking too good. Grady tells his dad that something just feels off about this place, and his dad tries to make him feel better by comparing him to the deer. He says that they've never seen the swamp before either, but soon they'll learn to adapt and soon they'll love it.
Very interesting. Glad I could be a part of your study.
Damn, Grady has some A1 sarcasm for real. After some pretty mundane footage to show you how boring it is here in Fever Swamp, Grady finally runs into somebody that's not a crazy 80-year-old man. This is Will Blake, and he is the only other kid that lives in the area. Will is played by Michael Berry, who you might know from an episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark known as The Tale of the Crimson Clown. I actually talked about that episode, so go check that video out if you have seen it. I'm sorry I keep shouting out my videos. They just keep popping up. Will and Grady become friends pretty quickly. I mean, who else are you gonna be friends with, am I right? But of course, them being from two totally different parts of the US, they both have different ideas of fun. Grady just wants to play catch for a little bit, but Will would rather go shoot targets out back with his BB gun.
Our family kind of doesn't believe in guns.
Oh.
Yeah, they're not having the best start. Will asks Grady if he's explored the swamp yet, and better yet, has he gotten lost yet? How did he know that? He says the swamp feels like it grows while you're in there, and you could easily get lost and turned around.
You know why your parents got that house so cheap?
Because it's literally falling apart and dry rotting from the inside out?
No, because the old lady who lived there went into the swamp one day and never came out.
Well, that's just depressing, Will. That's just depressing. Will offers to show Grady around the swamp so he won't get lost, and Grady reluctantly agrees. And while they explore, Grady asks how Fever Swamp got its name. Will tells him a story about how a long time ago, people got a fever from the swamp. It makes your body so hot that it boils your brain. That makes you go crazy, and eventually you'll just run back into the swamp, where it takes you away forever. And just then, one of the hermit's traps go off, which sends Will into a panic. So he just runs away, leaving Grady behind. Luckily, they bump into each other again, and even better, the hermit doesn't see them hiding. Grady tells Will about what happened the day before, and Will tells him that that's not good. He's the reason that people keep disappearing in the swamp. Apparently, he's been running around the swamp for over 50 years, and he looks so young because he eats people to stay young.
The moon is full tonight. You'll hear him howling and you'll know exactly what he is.
That's right, Will believes that the swamp hermit is a werewolf. And later that night, while Grady's looking at the full moon, he hears the howling, just like Will said he would. At dinner, Grady tells everybody about the story of Fever Swamp, and that a lot of people have gone missing in the past couple of years, including the old lady that used to live in their house.
But Will knows what got her. A werewolf.
And that werewolf is the swamp hermit. And of course, none of his family believe him, and his dad just becomes a typical scientist and takes away all the fun. And he tells Grady that there's no such thing as werewolves, and the hermit's just a lonely guy that's never harmed anyone. But then we cut to an Easter egg! Any Goosebumps fan will recognize that the haunted mask is on the bottom of this skateboard. It also shows up in the very weird episode Strained Peas. That night, Grady wakes up in a panic. He's sweating, and he fears that he has the swamp fever.
Normal.
Luckily for him, he's just being delusional, so he takes a step on the balcony just to calm down. But that's when he spots something watching him from the woodline. He runs downstairs and tries to lock all the doors, but it might be too late. Grady cautiously walks towards the door, and that's when something pounces on Grady. It looks like a rabid dog got into their house and is now attacking Grady. Luckily, his mom and sister come and save him, but it looks like
That was trying to kill you?
it's just a normal dog. He didn't even get bitten. It looks like the dog was just a little too excited. His dad was outside checking on the deer and accidentally left the door open, and so that's how the dog got inside the house. And Grady just figures that the howling he heard earlier was probably from the dog. Grady quickly takes a liking to the little pup and begs his parents to keep him. After all,
Life in the country is not complete without a dog.
they reluctantly let him keep the dog, which he names Vandal. In the book, the dog's name is actually Wolf, but also in the book, the dog has like gray fur, kind of looks like a wolf, and he's a lot bigger. But Grady says that he's naming him Vandal because of the way he broke into their house.
I was thinking about calling him Vandal on account of the way he broke in last night.
It's kind of cute, honestly. The next day, their mom sets up a telescope outside because there's going to be a full moon, but not only a full moon, a lunar eclipse. A lunar eclipse is when the Earth, Sun, and Moon line up so perfectly that the Earth's shadow covers the moon. And for us Americans, there might be one next year on March 14th. And that's your one science lesson from King. Later, Grady and Will are walking through the swamp with Vandal, and while they're walking around, they spot these dried flowers hanging off some limbs. These flowers are wolfsbane, an actual flower that's said to ward off werewolves.
Of course, educated people know it doesn't work.
Will says that the whole silver bullet thing is a myth as well, that were people made it up so that poor people couldn't hunt them down. And that's when Grady steps on the wrong branch and slips all the way down into the bog, also known as the heart of the swamp. Will comes down and helps him get up, and Will tells him a story about one time a kid fell into it and the bog sucked him down like it's quicksand. And the boys are feeling a little adventurous, so Will sticks his arm in the bog, ew, but he can't pull it out.
Something's got me. Help, help me.
Grady quickly comes to help his friend, and luckily they get his arm out, but
Oh, it was only a shoe.
he was just kidding the whole time. Later that day, Emily finds a cute bunny laying outside. Aww. Too bad it's dead. She instantly blames Vandal for killing the poor bunny, and for some reason the parents took it to a lab and started analyzing the dead rabbit. I know they're scientists and all, but I think you could have figured out that a dog attacked it without skinning it. But apparently the bunny wasn't the only animal that was attacked last night.
Oh, come on, Dad. Vandal didn't do this.
The whole family takes Emily's side and find it strange that once Vandal showed up, all these small animals started dying around their house. But Grady will not stand for that.
We think it was Vandal.
It's not Vandal.
Grady storms out of the house and goes looking for the swamp hermit because he thinks he's the one that's been killing all these animals. And of course he brings Will along, but Will doesn't think it's too good of an idea.
All right, I'll go, but I'm out of there before the moon rises.
They find the hermit's shack in the woods and they start searching around for evidence that the hermit is possibly a werewolf. And Will's not making anything better.
One bite, man. That's all it takes, and you'll be just like him. A werewolf.
We get it, you don't want to be a werewolf. They don't find any evidence that he's a werewolf, but they do find something worse. He's been watching them the whole time. The hermit chases them through the woods all the way until Grady accidentally falls into one of his traps. That's when the hermit takes Grady down and drags him all the way back to his shack. And while he's trapped, Grady notices that the hermit is really hairy and has really long and odd-shaped fingernails, almost like they're claws. Grady seems to think it's a good idea to threaten the hermit.
My parents are probably on their way now. And they've got guns. Really big guns.
So the hermit answers by showing Grady that he has some firepower as well. And as the sun falls, the hermit takes a really close look at Grady, but doesn't seem too impressed. He then walks outside and lets his animal instincts free as Grady slips out the back door. Grady runs all the way home and then begs his mom if they could go anywhere, stay at a hotel, just stay somewhere far away from Fever Swamp just for tonight.
Gotta go to a motel or something. Just anywhere, just as long as we're away from the swamp.
Of course, she has no idea what's going on, so she tries to calm him down and asks him what exactly is happening. So he tells her about the hermit.
Did he hurt you?
No, not exactly.
Did he threaten you?
No.
What then?
I beg to differ. He definitely trapped you and then dragged you probably like 100 yards to his house. Then he literally pulled out a gun and slammed it beside you. I would say that's a threat. Granted, Grady did threaten him first, but still, he's a child. You shouldn't take a child's threat to heart. So I would still say he did threaten and hurt you, bud. Grady tries to tell his mom one last time that the hermit is a werewolf, and she still doesn't believe him. Grady then tries to explain to her that it's really hard for him to explain something to them when it's not exactly scientifically accurate, but he knows that it's true. And as he's telling her this, something breaks the fence that's holding the deer in, and they all got loose. And how do I know that they got loose? Well, one tries to jump into their house. While Vandal barks his head off, the two check the fence to find that it's ripped completely in half. And not only that, but one of the deer is dead. Somehow the mom thinks that Vandal ripped the fence apart and released all the deer. I don't think I've ever seen a dog literally rip a fence in half, but okay, scientist lady. Grady knows it wasn't his dog, no matter how much his mom tries to make him believe it was. So she takes Vandal and tries to lock him into the barn so they can have a chance to go search for the deer. But this doesn't go too well for her. Grady calls Vandal out, then locks his mom in the barn. And after he locks his mom into the barn, he hears Will scream from his house. He runs to Will's house and goes inside to find that
Will?
nobody's home. And Will's house looks even more abandoned than his own. Grady does find one of Will's couches ripped to shreds and one of the windows busted open. So he comes to the conclusion that the werewolf must have gotten him. So he grabs a fire poker for protection and heads into the swamp alone. This is 100% the coolest shot of the whole episode. I love this shot so much. It is awesome. And as Grady does this, his sister Emily comes home to find the house is completely empty. I don't know how she didn't hear the mom calling for Grady from inside the barn, but okay. She searches all the rooms but doesn't see or hear a thing. That is until something's been waiting for her in the living room. The werewolf chases her through the house and outside, almost catching her multiple times. Luckily, she makes it to the barn where her mom is and they lock the werewolf out. But now the wolf knows where they are, so he does whatever he can to get inside. He tries digging underneath the barn, but quickly gives up on that to start beating the roof in. Damn, he's really going at it. Finally, after a long minute, the wolf stops and all is quiet. But it hasn't given up yet. The werewolf is only distracted when Grady calls out to Will and Vandal.
Will!
So the wolf ignores them and runs straight into the swamp after Grady. But luckily for Grady, the wolf gets caught in one of the net traps. And that's when it's revealed that the werewolf isn't the hermit after all. The hermit stands in front of the trapped wolf and gives us some much needed information. The werewolf killed the hermit's wife and kids and left him a very sad, lonely, vengeful man.
I swore one day I would take your heart the way you took mine.
It's honestly really sad. But that's when the hermit takes a closer look and notices that he caught one of the deer, but the werewolf isn't too far.
Run, boy!
The werewolf supposedly kills the hermit off camera and starts chasing after Grady. And when he actually catches Grady, he shoves him down to the ground, but that's when the eclipse happens. And against his will, the wolf starts transforming back into a human. And it's revealed that that human is
Get away!
Will!
Get away, Grady!
Will Blake. Will tries to warn Grady and tells him to run away as fast as he can. That when he's in the wolf form, he can't control himself and he will kill Grady. But it's too late. The eclipse is already over. And he's changing back. That's the quickest eclipse I've ever seen in my life. Will instantly starts attacking Grady and was going to kill him until Vandal saves the day. Like some kind of trained army dog, Vandal fights the werewolf and pushes him down the hill into the swamp, where the wolf sinks into the bog as if it were quicksand. But sadly for Grady, he lost his only friend. But at least the wolf is dead. Cut to a couple of weeks later, and his family finally believe him that werewolves are real. Well, kinda. The dad still doesn't really fully believe it, but they rebuttal by asking him,
And you haven't seen Will around, have you?
I think they won this one. And now that the werewolf is gone, it doesn't look like Vandal has been the one killing all the small animals. So finally, the family love him. And that night, Grady sleeps peacefully in bed, knowing that he doesn't have to worry about a werewolf. Jesus Christ, what was that for? He does get awakened from that nightmare, though. He then goes out to the balcony, looks up to the moon, and that's where the episode ends. Kind of. R.L. Stine sends us off and tells us that werewolves aren't real, which is a lie because he's obviously one. I absolutely adore this episode. Such a great episode, such a solid story. And I know after all this time, the twist has been spoiled multiple times, but when I was younger and it was my first time watching that, I did not see it coming at all. I was absolutely blown away that Will was the werewolf. And to me, this doesn't feel like a Goosebumps episode at all. Each Goosebumps episode has kind of a certain vibe to it, you know, it's kind of lighthearted, it has scary moments, but nothing is too serious. That one does not have this vibe at all. Everything is super dark and serious, and it just seems a little off from the other episodes. It's genuinely scary at some points, and it's still scary even to me as an adult. It's so scary that the UK had to give it a 12+ rating. It even beats most of the shitty horror movies that have come out in the past 2 years. And a while back, before I hit 10K subs, I asked you guys which episode you guys liked more, and of course you guys voted for this one, but I had a few comments saying that they didn't like how little the werewolf was shown in the episode. To me personally, I thought that that was perfect. They build up all this mystery surrounding the werewolf, and they even make you question if it's real. And once you almost stop believing Grady, boom. Werewolf. Sure, it took 35 of the 45-minute episode for it to show up, but I think that's what makes the reveal so much better. And there are a few differences from the book that I'd want to point out. The big one is that they completely left a character out, Cassie. Cassie is a weird girl that's one of Grady's neighbors, and she's actually the one that fills Grady's head with all the werewolf stuff in the book. And Will kind of picks on her for believing in werewolves in the book. Basically, Will does everything that Cassie does in the book. And also at the end of the book, Grady actually turns into the werewolf and runs into the swamp. In the episode, they kind of left it open for you to decide. When I was little, I thought that it was kind of like him mourning his friend because that's how wolves mourn. They howl at the moon. But we didn't see Grady get bitten by Will, so I don't know if he actually did get turned into a wolf. It's such a good episode. There's so much I can say about it. But of course, we have another two-parter episode to jump into, and it's definitely something else. Werewolf Skin is the 13th and 14th episode of season 3 of Goosebumps. And surprisingly, this episode almost didn't get made. First of all, the book wasn't even finished yet when the episode started production, and writers Dan Angel and Billy Brown wrote the initial script for the episode, but it was deemed too unfilmable, and it was rejected by executives, which caused the two to leave Goosebumps. Yikes, they must really not have wanted it to change. Their excuse was it had too many set changes and stunts, and it was too unrealistic to film. And apparently they had a scene where they were showing the werewolves eating a deer on camera. I think I see why it was rejected. Luckily, Ron Oliver rewrote the script and we got this amazing episode. And unlike the previous episode, this one doesn't show up in any other episodes of Goosebumps. But there are a few Easter eggs in it, so I'll point them out as we come across them. So let's quit yapping and get into the episode. We start the episode with a creepy little rinky-dinky gas station with music to match it. And we linger on this for a really long time, honestly. Like a lot longer than you'd expect. That's when a bus pulls up and we finally get to meet our main character, Alex. And this rude-ass bus driver.
Aren't you forgetting something?
Wow, you could have at least handed the bags to him. The bus driver tries to scare Alex by telling him the story of a headless ghost that lives in the woods nearby. And it totally scares Alex. Look at him, he's trembling in his boots. You might actually recognize this bus driver as the maid from the episode Deep Trouble, which I just made.
You better go watch that one.
Alex is a pretty tough cookie. He doesn't get scared too easily, and he's a pretty big skeptic. But not for long. As he waits for his family at the bus station, he starts reading this magazine called Chiller, and it's having a photo competition. And luckily for Alex, he just got a new camera. The person just has to take a scary picture and the winner will win $1,000. Also, there are 2 Easter eggs right here on the magazine. You can see one of the masks from the Haunted Mask episode, and of course one of the creeps from Calling All Creeps. There's also a mummy on the cover, but I'm not sure if this is the same mummy that's in the episode Return of the Mummy, or if it's just a mummy. But to keep it interesting, I'm gonna say it's the mummy from the episode. And as Alex waits for his aunt and uncle, he decides to take some spooky pictures. Pictures like a bug zapper, or a gas pump, or these lawn gnomes. No, wait, never mind. Lawn gnomes can be scary. This is where we learned that the town is called Wolf Creek. Wonder where they got that name. I wonder if Stein named it Wolf Creek as like a small joke of Fever Swamp, because it's almost the same, but it's not. You know, it's a swamp and it's a creek, and this one has wolf in the name. Or maybe I'm reading way into it. But this is when we get a beasto-vision shot of something running quickly through the woods. It doesn't sound too happy, and it is a full moon tonight. We cut to the next morning, and Alex is still waiting for his family. Wow, that must be a great family. When the beasto-vision appears again, and it starts running towards a sleeping Alex. Oh, it's a bunny. For a second there, I was expecting a jump scare.
Careful, city boy. That might be a killer bunny.
Ah, there it is. I love this over-the-top reaction Alex gives. It's just so goofy. No worries though, it's just his Uncle Colin. Apparently his car broke down and that's why they had to leave the poor kid to sleep on the bench. We learned that Alex's aunt and uncle are also photographers, and they bought him this camera so they can teach him how to be a good photographer. But they've been at the bus stop for too long, so they hop in the Jeep and they drive quite recklessly all the way back home. Alex tells them about the photo competition, and they're supportive of it, of course, but there's just one issue.
There's nothing particularly scary about Wolf Creek.
Obviously there is, or we wouldn't have a Goosebumps episode about it. Idiot. Alex notices that his aunt and uncle live next to a abandoned-looking house, but it surprisingly has a family living in it. But they warn Alex to not go near them because
they're crazy.
Wow, that's a bold way of putting it. Even though they told Alex to not go near the house, all he can think about is what great pictures he can get of it. Later that day, his Uncle Colin brings him a whole new roll of film and tells Alex to go out and take some pictures. So he does, with music that goes way too hard for a kid just taking some pictures. He starts taking pictures of the neighbor's house, and he's honestly getting some pretty good stuff. But what makes it worse is somebody's watching him from the inside. He moves on into the woods where we bump into...
Don't worry, I don't bite.
This is Hannah. She's a local and she knows Alex's aunt and uncle, and she just wants to show him around the woods a little bit. This is when we learn that she's never really left the city of Wolf Creek. Kind of sad, honestly. And she doesn't really have any friends either.
I like to be alone.
And there's nothing wrong with that. Sadly, it gets dark pretty quickly and the woods aren't safe after dark.
Why? Is that when the monsters come out or something?
Yes, as a matter of fact. Yes, that is when the monsters come out, Alex. Alex decides to take a quick picture of the moon, but when he turns around, Hannah is gone, and he doesn't know where he is. He tries to follow a trail and hopes that it brings him back home, until he ends up at a split road. And as he tries to remember which way he came from, something peeks at him from the bushes, until... Okay, so we don't get to see what Alex saw, but it does cut to commercials, and when it comes back, we get this pretty goofy scene. I want you to watch it. That is the funniest reaction to seeing a werewolf ever. Rawr, I'm a scary wolf monster. Rawr.
Wait, don't I know you from somewhere?
No, I'm a werewolf.
Yeah, you were in that one thing.
What the hell are you talking about?
You know that thing with the dude that like he fights this big bad guy? Star Wars, you're Chewbacca. You're Chewbacca. I love Star Wars. Wow, I can't believe I met Chewbacca today. That's fucking crazy, man.
Are you fucking serious right now? Alex quickly runs through the woods and finds himself at his neighbor's house. He beats on the door and begs them to let him in as the monster just gets closer and closer until... Oh, it's just his Aunt Martha. By the way, his Aunt Martha is played by Nikki Guadagni, I think that's how you say that. But she also played an old lady in a really good movie called Ready or Not. Definitely watch that movie. That movie is so funny. Aunt Martha warns Alex to not go in the woods at night. It's super dangerous. And to also not bother the neighbors again because they do not like being messed with. She's also upset because they were supposed to leave for a very important photo shoot, but they had to wait because Alex wasn't home yet. But since he is home, she's going to leave, and Alex asks to come along, but Martha doesn't think that's a good idea. She says it's an important project and the less bodies around, the better. So he has to go inside and go to bed. The next day they're in school? I thought they'd be on like summer break or something. But in class they're learning about legends and old folk tales. And instantly we meet this bully named Sean and his dumbass friend that just repeats everything he says like he's DJ Khaled. Sean brings up how people consider werewolves a legend, but they're real. Alex soon finds out that literally everyone in class believes that werewolves exist. Except for the teacher, of course. Sean tells the story about when you're bit by a werewolf, you're cursed to become one. Except the werewolves around here are different. At night, the werewolves shed their skin like a snake. And the only way to get rid of the curse is to find the skin and burn it before the next full moon. And that's when the werewolf inside the person dies.
Yeah. Dies.
Hey, don't start copying me now. The bell rings and Sean isn't too happy that Alex has been laughing at him.
Yeah, laughing at him.
Bro, stop! Sean tells Alex that he can prove werewolves are real. And he tells Alex to meet them behind the neighbor's house and across the bridge at Wolf Creek. Because that's where the werewolves go to drink their water.
Unless you're a chicken.
Yeah, chicken.
Could someone like annihilate this dude, please? So Alex agrees to meet them there tonight. Later that day, Alex and Hannah are walking across the bridge that leads to Wolf Creek. Hannah tries her best to get Alex to turn around because it's not safe to be in the woods after dark. But Alex really isn't scared at all. He thinks it's gonna be fine because there's gonna be at least 3 people there. And also if they do see a werewolf.
Besides, if something does come after us, it'll go for Sean first. He's big, he's a better meal.
It's kind of funny. Hannah leaks that she also believes in werewolves and she gets mad at Alex for not listening to her warnings.
Man, Man, these people are weird.
That night, Alex gets ready to leave, but he finds that he's locked in. Not only that, but his windows are barred too. This is when he hears strange noises coming from across the street and is shocked to see 2 werewolves come out of his neighbor's window. He turns around for just a second, but when he looks back, their window is shut and there's no werewolves in sight. He just brushes it off as if it was his imagination. Then he opens his window and that's when the werewolves attack him. They try their best to break down the iron bars on his window, but they must be made of adamantium or something because they don't even budge. Well, they do budge just a little bit. And Alex takes this opportunity to take some pictures of the wolves, but the flash scares them away. And that night, Alex finds it hard to sleep. But he does fall asleep. He falls asleep as he's guarding the door. And he only wakes up when his aunt and uncle come back from their photography trip. He tries to tell them that the neighbors are actually werewolves and they attacked him last night. Obviously, they don't believe him until he shows them the bent bars on his window.
It must have been a bear or something, a rabid fox.
He tells them in detail what he saw, and he also tells him that Hannah warned him about them. But this is when we learn that Hannah had an older brother that got lost in the woods one night and was bitten by a regular wolf. And ever since then, she's been somewhat obsessed with finding this wolf and capturing it. They also say that they put up the bars and locked him inside his room last night so that he wouldn't sneak out and go adventure in the woods. Yeah. Okay. Alex tells Hannah what he saw last night, and this is when she confesses that she's seen the werewolves multiple times. And she said that she didn't tell him because she was afraid that he wouldn't believe her because nobody believed her brother when he tried to tell them. Hannah tells Alex that the werewolf attacks are getting more frequent because they're cutting down most of the forest to make the city bigger. Alex starts putting some puzzle pieces together and figures out that maybe his aunt and uncle's big project is taking pictures of werewolves to send to the government. And this kind of pisses him off, so he says that he's going to leak the werewolf information to as many news outlets as he can so that everyone knows that werewolves exist. But this is when they bump into Tweedledee and Tweedlestupid. The two Stooges are mad that Alex ghosted them last night. Alex tells them that he doesn't have to go into the woods to see the werewolves because his neighbors are the werewolves. So he dares them to meet him at the neighbor's house tonight and he will show them where the werewolves live.
That is, if you're not chicken.
That night, Alex's aunt and uncle leave once again, and this is when Alex takes the opportunity to call this shady magazine called the National Exposer. That's like Goosebumps TMZ. And he offers them a real picture of a werewolf. Also right here, you can see that this chocolate bar is called Little Red Riding Hood. And if you don't know for some reason, Little Red Riding Hood's a story about an evil man-eating wolf. He also came prepared. He busts the door in and heads over to the neighbor's house while his aunt and uncle are out. And when he gets there, he finds wolf tracks leading all the way to Wolf Creek. He stakes out near the creek and hopes to capture a picture of one of the wolves, but none show up for a really long time. And when one does, it's not in an optimal spot for pictures.
It's all right.
Oh, it looks like it was just his teacher. Hannah told the teacher about Alex trying to capture a picture of a werewolf, so the teacher came to protect him because he doesn't want them to get to him. Wait, I thought the teacher didn't believe in werewolves.
Of course I do, Alex. I have to.
Why?
Luckily, that was a dream as well. Sadly, Alex slept through his only chance to catch a werewolf on camera. And on his way home, he finds his family Jeep trashed and on the side of the creek. And even worse, werewolf fur is hanging off of it. Alex runs home and searches for his aunt and uncle, but they're not home. He does catch some pictures of his neighbors de-skinning, only it might not be his neighbors. That's right, his aunt and uncle are the werewolves. Alex is shocked when he finds this, but he doesn't have time to worry about it right now. He has to fix the door before they get home. And he just pulls the supplies he needs out from under the bed. Either he was very prepared or he just randomly keeps a hammer and nails underneath his bed. I hope it was the latter. He quickly fixes the door frame and acts like he was sleeping the whole time. That morning at breakfast, Alex has a hard time trying to not act suspicious in front of his aunt and uncle. And you can tell this by the nauseating camera movement. They try to have like a normal conversation with Alex, but they keep saying sus stuff like,
You aren't eating?
No thanks. We had a bite last night.
And Alex notices on the newspaper that 3 hunters have gone missing in the past couple of days. And it's kind of weird how his aunt and uncle have been gone for the past couple of days. Funny enough, the syrup on the breakfast table has the 3 little pigs on it. Another fairy tale that involved a big bad wolf. I just think those little details are funny. Alex can't deal with it. He gets too nervous at the table, so he finds an excuse to just leave the house.
I'm gonna be late for school.
Alex takes Hannah to the spot where the Jeep was trashed, but when they get there, the Jeep is gone. Hannah is now worried about Alex's safety with his family being werewolves and all, but Alex figures out that that's the reason that they've been locking him in at night, so that they don't hurt him. Yeah, that went well, right? Alex wants to help them get rid of the curse, but he doesn't know how. But he's going to try anyways. Later that day, Alex and Hannah head over to the neighbor's house and look for the skins. But as they do that, Beavis and Butthead have something planned. He finds the skins hiding in a closet, puts them in a trash bag, but they've spent a little too long looking for the skins and it's getting kind of late, and somebody's coming looking for them. Luckily, the two escape before anyone can notice.
Where are the skins?
No, I don't know.
Alex and Hannah dig a really deep hole and bury the skins in it. Well, Alex digs the hole, and Hannah gets too scared and leaves. And as he digs, somebody is peeking out at him from the bushes. Alex can sense that something is wrong, so he decides to be brave and head into the woods, where he finds... Thing 1 and Thing 2 were just trying to scare him. Alex tries to warn them and tell them to leave, but they don't listen to him.
You don't really think we believe in that junk, do you?
Yeah. Do ya?
Well, you might want to start believing him, because it might bite you in the ass. Literally. These two could have at least tried to look a little more scared. I mean, come on. Sadly, they don't actually get bitten by the skins, but they do run away like babies. But Alex, being the Chad that he is, beats the skins in the hole with the shovel, all while he quickly buries them as they beg for mercy. Finally, everything is quiet and all is good. Until...
Our skins.
His aunt and uncle come looking for their skin, and the skins haven't given up either.
So cold.
Alex fights both his aunt and uncle and the skins until the moon is uncovered by the clouds and the curse is finally lifted. Holy shit, they explode? That was so unnecessary. Why did that happen? They for real gave the skins the slappy treatment. Now that the curse is actually gone, the family is free. We cut to the next day where Uncle Colin is teaching Alex how to develop the picture he's been taking. And after all this time, he still didn't get a good picture of the werewolves. Or did he?
What the?
Looks like Hannah's been keeping a big secret from Alex. And speaking of Hannah, she shows up to hang out.
What's the matter? I told you I don't bite.
And that's where the episode ends. I told you this one's way goofier than Fever Swamp. I feel like it's a nice contrast though. I mean, we already have a really serious, really scary werewolf episode. Why not just have some fun with the idea? Let's make a wacky werewolf one where they literally shed their skin and then the skins explode. That's fun. Now, compared to Fever Swamp, it's a pretty trash episode, I'm not gonna lie. But compared to the other Goosebumps episodes, not that bad. Sure, the acting is quite atrocious sometimes, and there's really cringe jokes everywhere, and the story is a bit all over the place, but it makes for a super fun and really entertaining episode. It feels like an episode that I would just put on for good vibes, maybe at a Halloween party or something, just something goofy and fun. As for Fever Swamp, I'd probably put it on while I'm sitting home alone on a rainy night and I want to get a little scared. I think this episode works really well because it doesn't take itself too seriously, but it does have a few decent jump scares in it, and a few differences that I noticed from the book to the episode is I think the story in the book was closer to Halloween time. I can't really tell, but I think it's like summertime for these guys. And in the book, the skins are more like capes, not like costumes from Spirit Halloween. Speaking of the skins, at the end of the book, Alex and Hannah actually wear the skins to lift the curse from his aunt and uncle. Just a weird difference that I don't think makes much sense. Charn and Arjun are actually race swapped in the episode. Arjun is an Indian boy in the book and Sean is a Caucasian boy in the book. I don't know why they decided to race swap it for the episode. There are a few more small differences, but they're nothing like too big that I feel like I should mention. But if you want to, let me know in the comments below. Also, let me know how you feel about the Werewolves of Goosebumps in the comments below. I have a Patreon. The $5 members get episodes a day early, plus some bonus content and maybe some pictures of my cats. Also your name right here. Crazy. Like the video if you like the video. Thank you for watching the video all the way through. I appreciate you all, and peace. We cut to a very foggy and creepy looking swamp.